Hi guys, welcome back to watching our broadcast right here from our home office at Skydive TV during the COVID-19 situation. And today we have a very special guest, a great friend of ours, a legendary skydiver and an incredible competitor, USPA delegate to the IPC. And the resume is so long for me to keep going, but this is Kirk Verner. Kirk, welcome, sir. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yes, pleasure to have you, sir, right here with us on the Skydive TV's studio during these difficult times. You have been an incredible support for Skydive TV since pretty much the very beginning. You've been with us throughout all the difficult times. You supported us when we came out to do the nationals for the first time in Skydive Paracletes. You fought for Skydive TV at the IPC, currently ASP meetings. And we want to say a big, huge thank you to you for all of your support and everything you've done for us, man. Thank you.
Certainly. I believe in you.
Well, thank you very much, sir. I don't need to really say much about your resume. Everybody knows who you are and what you've done. Yeah. But I want to go back 10 years because this is our 10th anniversary, as you know, when we first launched. When you first found out about Skydive TV, what was your impression? What do you think?
Well, I've said this for a long time that I think what there's a gap that was needed to be filled. And I think Skydive TV did an amazing job on so many levels. I mean, I could go on and on about what I think, the coverage of things. And what that does is it brings people that aren't at a competition, kind of gets them involved and brings it into it. But most importantly, I think that the connection that I think Skydive TV has kind of brought is that to get to the general public, we need to, there's telling people like, okay, this is what, block 21 is, a zigzag marquee in FS, or this is the name of this thing. But really what they want to see is, how did this person get here? Like the human interest part of it. And that's what really draws people in. So the guy at home, whether he's a jumper or not, he looks at a story about how, jumper X got from, a small drop zone and, wherever, North Dakota, and then now they're on a U.S. team somewhere. And that's what's important. I think Skydive TV did that, like really kind of delved into not just the explaining of the sport, but like made those things about the competitors. And, it's a big deal, man. And you understood it too. You guys all understood it. And that's another thing. So it came off, like I said, that it kind of brought it all together. People that weren't there, they felt like they were there and created a story for them. You know what I mean? That they could follow very easily. And that's a big deal, man. It's like all of our social media that we use for our business. And that's one thing they kind of create dialogue with the watcher. And that's a big deal.
Well, that was the goal of it. We wanted to take the helmets off and create those music videos that are on Facebook and YouTube. We wanted to actually bring the competitors closer to the general public, and not only them, but their families. None of them really understood what they were doing. So the idea was, let's show your mom and dad and whoever supporting you financially for this, whatever they call it, crazy, what you're doing. So that was cool. But absolutely. It was first event was in 2010, and that was a very challenging event to put together because we really didn't know a lot of the things, how logistically it was going to happen, how it would work out, how it would be received. But do you think that when we first started, skydiving as a sport, as an industry, was actually ready and mature enough to have its own media?
That's a tough one, man. I would probably say no. As you know, skydiving has its own subculture, and there's certainly a large number of the participants that almost want to keep it to themselves. Like they certainly don't want it to be too mainstream, just because, it's kind of a hidden gem in there, And so there's always that part of it, and how far. And then you see that with sponsorship, the same thing. There have been in the past, teams have gotten some major sponsorship from big companies, but over time, they look at what they get out of it and how much money they're putting into it and what exposure they get. And before Skydive TV, I mean, the exposure was really limited to a few publications and things like that. You know what I mean? And you had the 1982 Wide World of Sports. They did the nationals, and it was in Muskogee, yeah. And so that's been pretty much it. I mean, it's just a few things here and there, and it's always kind of been skydiving's always put off as to being, oh, that's that crazy thing. They don't understand it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think Skydive TV definitely, you know, had that bridged the gap there. And was it ready? Probably not. I mean, I'm not sure it's ready now sometimes, you know, but I think there's a definite way, and you guys have definitely done that, of like almost, you know, turning things into like a canned show, you know, like this is, I can explain this to you. And you have what you guys do at my nationals was amazing. And so, you know, I think there's a way to do it, you know, and I think Eurosport did one as well. It was just on Facebook not long ago when Dan was, somebody put a portion of that video on Dan's page, and it was really cool. And they did a pretty good job too. You know what I mean? They kind of pieced it together, and they just shot it and then edited it later, you know, but not unlike what you guys do where you're actually there, you know.
You know, we really wanted to be at Skydive Hercules for nationals, but you know, it takes quite a bit of pre-production. You know, we have to have the right contracts and the right permissions in place in order for us to be able to cover this event. We can't just show up and shoot it, and that all comes down to the rights of the event. So that brings me to the next question. Our contract had previously inspired with USPA, and you and I met at PA, and we were talking about, hey, you know, what is it going to take for me, and you know, what is it going to take for you guys to come here? And it wasn't about the money. It was about the right relationships between the associations and the host and everything. So, what do you think? What Skydive TV need to do, you as a person who have been in the sport for so many years, to convince the associations to, hey guys, we need this?
I wish that I had an easy answer, to be honest with you. They had a, sorry, I had to turn the timer off. They had a, you know, I think it's not even just at USPA. They have, I think even the ISC and above them, even the FAI, they have all this seems concern about who owns the images and the likenesses of it. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I don't think that it's necessarily that they're worried about somebody profiting off. I'm not sure exactly where the concern lies. I think more of, will this be put into a light that doesn't seem kind to skydiving? You know what I mean? Which we don't need to worry about that with Skydive TV and the National Skydiving League. Kirk Gable's thing, they you know, he's after all the stuff that he does around competition too is great. You know, I think, you know, any event that you have, in my opinion, let everybody cover it that wants to cover it. You know what I mean? Like, it would be, I understand if it's like the Super Bowl, maybe that, you know, Fox gets it, but there's a lot of reporters there covering it as well. It's not just one thing, you know.
Sure.
I would just think that, you know, that you would let a lot of people cover it. I remember in like 2005, they had Paris had the nationals, and there was a lot of talk prior to that. And, you know, and of course, USPA, they want to have good press. I get that part. But they were going to have, you know, all this stuff, and were, you know, all the competitors there, were you willing to be interviewed and stuff? And really, I didn't really see anybody there. You know, I mean, I think Telemundo came out and they interviewed Eliana, and it was a really nice piece. It was great. But to be honest, man, sometimes people we care a lot about it, you know, but not everybody cares about it. It's a great big world out there, you know. But so if the more people that want to come cover the nationals or skydiving, I don't see a problem with that. Again, unless it turns into some sort of vulgarity or something that, you know what I mean? Like I could see maybe, but
yeah. And we've done nothing but to represent the sport properly.
Of course.
You know, I see where you're going with. Everybody should be able to come and cover, but that is a one-off. You know, for example, a local reporter comes in, does a report, but that's not really generally a coverage of an entire event. And that,
of course.
Yeah, that is just a public information for the general public. When it comes to really covering an event that's 30 days at one location, we require budgets. We require to have some sort of finance. We can't just get somebody to come there for 30 days for free. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons why we need that these contracts in place is so that we can sell sponsorships. And now once we do this, it becomes a commercial entity.
Sure.
This is where it differs.
And I think that's okay, but I think probably too, I don't know, I don't remember if with Skydive TV and USPA, if there was something around, you know, the advertising. I mean, that's always something you have to, you know, figure out, like how that, you know, they don't want you just to attach, you know, Doritos to their product. You know what I mean? But that's a simple contract, right? I don't think that's it at all. It always does. You know, I do know that with USPA, just generally, they do their best try not to spend the members' money, the dues, right? The money that the USPA holds. But there's always that balance, right? You've got to be able to spend money to make money. We know that. And I don't know, you know, I even, we saw this a little bit with the ISC as well, that they were reluctant in some ways to do some things in a timely fashion around it. And I don't know. I mean, I could never get an answer out of why, you know. I don't know if I don't know, you know, but you know, like I said, like I understand what you're saying. And I remember when you were there in
16 in Frankfurt.
15, yeah. And like, you know, you guys were working super long days. We were up at the crack of dawn and you guys were there, and then late, and then you're going home and editing, and you would have, you know, day one's activities. And, you know, I know you were putting in crazy hours, you know. It's not like I think sometimes people see these shows and they're like, oh, that's simple. I'll shoot that on my phone. Well, you might be able to shoot it on your phone now, but you still have to produce it.
Correct. Yeah,
you know?
You're right.
You know, so.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun in 15 at Paracletes, and I remember that heat wave that came through. I mean, that was incredible. My ears were burnt. You know, it was crazy.
It was like 108-degree heat index or something crazy, man.
With like 90% humidity or something.
Yeah,
like that.
At midnight, you know, it was brutal. Our nationals in 2019, we had amazing weather. It was. We really just had the most incredible weather, man.
That's cool. Well, I'm sorry we weren't there, but perhaps we'll make it up on another one. Before I ask your next question, I want to acknowledge some of our viewers right now. We have Susan, Blue Skies. Guys, thank you, Susan, for watching. We really appreciate it. We have Idris, Blue Sky friends. You know, we appreciate you watching as well. Steve Noonan, hey, buddy. Thank you for being such a great fan. Appreciate it. Thank you, Steve. And John, thanks for televising great events to our skydiving world. You're trying, John, as much as we can. We hope to continue this tradition as the years come through. Thank you very much for watching, guys. So I have another question for you, which is next. Do you think that skydiving has matured to have its own media today? And, you know, what do you think that of an idea of skydiving having its own world federation that can control it?
It's certainly been thrown around on so many times that just the 10 years that I've been in on the USPA board and then in the ISC as the delegate, and it's thrown around. And a lot of times that I think that it gets thrown around with around frustration about not feeling like you're being represented correctly. You know what I mean by as it goes up, and it doesn't. I think that's just a common occurrence inside of an umbrella system, right? You have your top governing body, and then everybody that falls under it, and then everybody has that a little bit. But it never did boil down. I can tell you from my experience on watching some of that, never boiled down, at least at the IPC level, into anything about really. It wasn't a money fight, even though that came up sometimes, you know, about the money of things. But it was more about just that taxation without representation when they needed to be taken care of. You know what I mean? And you look to those the people above you to say, hey, man, we're getting hassled here. We need help, you know? And it just seemed like sometimes that I felt like skydiving almost seemed like the, you know, the black sheep of the air sports in a way, you know. And I don't maybe that's not true, you know, maybe that's just how I felt, but sometimes it just seemed like they, you know, didn't really care. So I certainly that was been thrown around a lot. The problem is always just managing it and keeping it worth it to the membership, you know, whoever is the membership. I mean, I think you see that with the USIS, the indoor one that, I required it to be at the Nationals this year. I didn't require it. We had the Nationals this year at indoor, so it's a requirement to do that. And I had several people call me and, oh, why is this? And why do we have to pay? Well, listen, it's just, you want to be part of this. This is what is required to compete at the U.S. Nationals of indoor. But I think they've had a tough time getting people kind of on board membership wise, and it's always a tough one, So that would be the only thing. Like, how do you get everybody that is involved? Because like in any democracy, a lot of times the voting's very 50-50 on things, and so to get away, I think Roger Nelson actually tried this many years ago as well. And he was on the USPA board as well at one point, I think, and then after, and that was a World Free Fall Federation or something like that. And he was like, look, this is about more about us, and sometimes I think USPA has had that in the past. I don't think they have it as much now, and that is that they forget that they're a membership-based organization, and the board's elected by the members, and we're members. It's all, you know what I mean? It's all just about trying to get the right job done, the business part of skydiving done. And they're, and I think honestly that the headquarters, USPA headquarters, doing a really good job. They've got a great team. There's so many good people there, and I do say that from the 10 years I've been on the board, that they really want to do what's right. We don't always hit it out of the park, but we do. And at the IPC level, sometimes I feel like it's a little bit more political, and even more so than even USPA, because we come in there at USPA, we don't, we come in to get a job done.
That's right.
And so, and I think with the IPC, it's a little bit more politicking, and it's a bigger stage. There's a lot more things going on. So, but yeah, I don't know. I think that if you could get everybody on, even with, and I don't want to badmouth the FAI for sure, because they've been around forever, and they ratify records, and I get that, but sometimes the process gets bogged down by people that aren't experts trying to insert themselves in the way of the experts. If we have a record and we say it's a record, we're the experts, it's a record.
It's a record.
We're not gonna. Why are we gonna try to fib? You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah, of course, it will have to go through its own, criteria and certification and stuff like that. But if the experts say it's a record, it's a record.
Yeah, for sure. So, and so, there's, and I don't know, I think there's probably a place for it, though. I do, the grassroots part of skydiving is a big deal. Although, you just look at the USPA board of directors elections, you see that a very small percentage of people vote. And it makes sense, right? People don't want to do paperwork at their leisure sport. They do paperwork at work. They don't want to, you know what I mean? Skydiving is supposed to be fun for them. They don't want to deal with the politics. And we see that, like less than 10%, or maybe around 10 or 12% vote, and okay, and that's fine. If you don't care, skydiving's there for you to have fun and be safe, so.
Yeah, and some people want to push it to the next level, want to compete, get world medals, world records, and stuff like that. So I think this has a place for it. So let me ask you this. How much do you think that Skydive TV over the years has influenced the sport? How much of an influence did Skydive TV have on the competitors? And we've put many times a microphone right in front of your face during competition. Do you think that it made it more challenging for the competitors to be better, to strive for better? Or
I think it makes them a lot better to strive for better. I mean, we always said that even on airspeed. We feel like you train better on the weekend. People are looking, you know what I mean, and you want to be on point. And I think that's just all part of every sport. Any sport, you're going to have to deal with, telling people about it. And again, it just tells the story, and I think people are drawn to that, man. I can tell you, I watched just several of them, your coverages at World Meets that I wasn't there at. I'm chomping at the bit, watching what's going on. So, it's just, I think it's a really good thing. I do. I don't think it was got in the way at all, man. I think it was made it seem professional, and skydiving used to be, the banquet at the Nationals, the Nationals banquet many years ago was balancing a plate of barbecue over a kegger. Now it's a little bit bigger than
little
that,
different.
you know. So, yeah.
Did you?
I think it's done a good job. I did.
Cool, man. Thank you. Did you think we'd be here 10 years later?
Whoa, man, that's a very good question. You know, I was kind of seeing some of the nuts and bolts of some of that, you know, and some of the you know, getting the job done. Yeah, you know what though? I did, because you know, you guys you're a tenacious guy, and I you know, you were very driven, and again, you know, you're there because you believe in the product, right? And we have that, like running the nationals. At some point, you get to the point where unforeseen things happen, and you just gotta give them a good product. And if that means that you have to throw your own money at it, you throw your own money at it. You know what I mean? So,
Yes.
and I feel like that's you guys. You've lived that. I know you have. I know you have. So, you totally care on the product, and that's. So yeah, I could see that you'd be there 10 years. Yeah, for sure.
So Kirk, you know, it's been really quite the journey. We've gotten where we are, and we've shifted Skydive TV's, actually adjusted the formula according to the lessons we've learned. But what would you like to see from Skydive TV? You know, from a competitor standpoint, from a board of directors standpoint, from the delegate standpoint, is there something that you would like to see more, or a direction that Skydive TV would need to go for next 10 years?
I think one thing that will help competition skydiving is just what kind of a little bit more what we talked about, and what you've done is the human interest side, but even a little bit broader than that, of like really focusing on like judging, you know, and explaining what the judges do, because they're kind of these you know, tireless workers that come in there, and sure, they get introduced before, and then, you know, I get that part, but there's just like, so people have an understanding, and competitors have an understanding. Because we have competitors come all the time, and they're say they come in and they'll ask me, what happened right here? Look at, they had them on their score sheet. We don't know what happened. And I'm like, okay, well, this is what happened. You didn't build this thing, and then somebody picked up grips, whatever it is. And I'm explaining to them, or, you know, a lot of people, this is why this happened to you. But I think something like that kind of, again, shows a little bit outside into the nuts and bolts of like how things work, you know. A little feature on jump pilots, all that stuff. I think it goes a long way, you know, because we're all one big family, you know. I mean, it's everybody kind of knows everybody in a lot of ways. But other than that, man, you guys are on point, you know. Like I said, I think your production's great, but those little things are showing like the behind the scenes part of it, you know.
And I'm really happy you brought that up, because we have been actually, the jump pilots we've done, with the judges we've done, but sometimes it has been difficult because, for example, the judges don't want to say a couple of things they need to say.
Yeah, sure.
The biggest challenge for us has been actually not having the availability of the judge footage right away. We have to take a long time because it's not live, and then it's far too late to actually broadcast it later. So it's been a real challenge with not being able to work with a scoring system that provide us with the footage on time, that the scoring is not immediate. And then the next day we have 13 different disciplines to cover, and all of a sudden these things kind of slip in between.
And things are going at a fast pace too, man. You know, once the national starts, it's just
non-stop,
it's going like crazy.
Well, you guys are open at Skydive Pericles today. First day opening after this craziness. How are things going?
Well, it went good. You know, we have only 10 per airplane. On any airplane, it's just 10. And then, you know, they partitioned the pilot off. We were training 8-way today. So we got up very early because it was supposed to get windy, and it did. It got windy about 10:30 or so. And but we were flying all 3 airplanes, and we had some military jumping, and then some sport jumpers out, and then us and a couple other military groups out there training. And so it was going strong till then, I think. And we got a beautiful day tomorrow. I think it's going to be okay. You know, the hardest part with skydivers is going to be keeping their social distancing. You know, I mean, you know what it's like at the end of the day of a drop zone. It's a lot of campfire and beer and barbecuing. So you know, that part of it's going to be probably the most difficult for all of it. But you know, with the airplanes at limited 10, you know,
Good stuff.
Yeah, they're climbing fast. They're climbing really fast. So
that's great. Light.
yeah.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, Kirk, for everything that you've done for Skydive TV, your support, your generosity, and all your kind words. Really, really appreciate having you. It's an honor to have you on our TV once again. Before I go, Jessica Johnson. Hey, Sammy is still keen on work at Skydive TV. Jessica, we'll make it happen one of these days. And thanks for watching, girl. So, Kirk, thank you very much. Really appreciate it, buddy. We'll touch bases later. You guys enjoy Skydive TV. Enjoy the next broadcast that's coming up. Shortly, we'll start broadcasting the 2016 event. So stay right here. Stay tuned on Skydive TV, and we'll be getting you informed about what's happening next. See you later. Bye-bye.